So this is a follow-up video on the Mazda CX5 where the oil strainer was cut open. So then already replaced all 4 rod bearings, and now let me switch the camera and show you how they look like. So here they are. They are bad, but to be honest, not the worst one we've seen. We've seen quite or like worse one than this. However, few of them have like marking on a rear as well, which means it was pressed a tiny bit. So these were replaced, I believe, quite on time when we've done it, or when then done it, and we will separate the balancer unit from the oil pump, and we will open up the oil pump just to see inside like how the things are, if there are any blockage or any carbon deposit or debris, because as you could see from the previous video, the strainer was cut open and basically it let everything go to the oil pump. I don't think personally there may be or will be any deposits, because very likely that was distributed in the engine, which is not a good thing, into the oil galleries. So obviously this car is going to get 2 oil changes and an engine flush. And let me tell you like a little bit how we do the bearings. So basically at the moment cylinder number 1 is, or piston number 1 is at top, that center. Then we can do 2 bearings, so e-torques, 12 size 12 e-torques, undo the bolts, remove the journal or the cap, replace the bottom bearing, and with the top bearing you just slide the connecting rod a tiny bit and push out the bearing, and the installation is the opposite. So basically do the top first. How we do it, we use like a special grease on oil, this red stuff, put it on the new bearing, the surface, and then put it on the crankshaft and slide it, and then push it into the conrod, and then do it the exactly same with the bottom bearing. But first we insert that into the cap to the journal and then tighten it, and the tightening torque spec for the bolts is 30 Newton meters and further 90 degrees. Once we're done with the 2 middle one, then we rotate the crankshaft by that bolt. So basically that notch will be on the bottom side, and we will have access to the number 1 and number 4 bearings, and exactly we do the same to them to replace them. So as I said, the next step is to get that checked and cleaned, obviously replace the strainer with a proper one, and then the car can be lowered and the job on the top can be started. And in the meanwhile, Ben is stripping another 2.2 Skyactiv. This one I believe had a rod knock, so we're going to check what was the cause. Very likely oil pressure problem, but we will know more once Ben stripped the engine. We stripped another one. As you can see, it's on the engine stand. We removed the crankshaft. This was a funny one. Basically the timing chain on the oil pump has snapped and then drove it into the garage, and it was driving, obviously limp mode and everything, but it was still driving. It wasn't seized. So then Ben removed the engine from the car and stripped it to this point. We first checked the rod bearings. They are all fine. Like no, I'm not saying no wear, but very minimal wear, even though it was running on no oil pressure or low oil pressure. And also only 2 main bearings were like scored. I can show you that on the crankshaft. The first 2, but we strongly believe this is still fine, so we're going to replace obviously the bearings and everything, get all the basics, not basic, but all the stuff, or all the usual stuff we do on these ones. So carb cleaning, camshaft replacement, vacuum pump, exhaust pressure sensor, and these bits, and then we're going to fit it into a car, check it, test it, and then this one will be good to go as well. So let's have a look how the carbon buildup looks like on the CX5. I'm not gonna lie, it is quite bad, but then he's going to remove it, get it cleaned with a walnut busting machine. He has already put back the top, so that is done. And once this is finished, I'm going to assemble it for him, replace the drive belt, and start the car up, take it for a test drive and check how it goes, how the things are, if the oil pressure problem is still present, or if it has improved, or it didn't even come with oil pressure problem, to be honest. As I said in the beginning of the video, it had just like a weird oil pressure at idle. I guess, or we guess very likely why that was, because of the cut out strainer. So now I want to see if the oil pressure has improved on idle, and I'm going to show you that as well, guys, as the other values as well. But now let's then get the carbon cleaning done. The carbon cleaning on the CX5 is done, is finished. You can see the valves, and let's have a closer look. So now the remaining part is to fit back the intake manifold, all the EGR parts, so the EGR, secondary EGR, the cooler, the charge pipes, the battery, and so on, and then fill up the cooling system with coolant, turn the car on. Obviously, first fill the engine with oil, turn the car on, and then we can take it for a test drive, check it, check the live data values, and hopefully it won't have that funny oil pressure problem or oil pressure discrepancy at idle. So guys, we are running again in the CX5. Have a look at the live data values, and specifically for the oil pressure, the engine is still relatively cold, and we having averaging 160-170 kPa, which is extremely good. Before, unfortunately, I didn't record it, but before, even on the cold engine, that number was like 120-130 kPa, very likely because of the cutout strainer. So if I rev the car or the engine to 2000 rpm, 190 perfect, nearly 400 very good, the oil pressure is extremely good. I'm going to get it up to temperature and going to recheck it just to make sure everything is good and perfect, everything is on the safe side, and then I can give it back to the owner. Also, DPF is deleted. Have a look at the numbers. The differential pressure is literally zero, so it has no blockage obviously because it's drilled. Look at the temperature sensor number 700, so it means the ECU, the software is altered as well, so it is mapped out of the ECU. Yeah, the car, like, it's smoking, but you can't avoid it unfortunately. So I'm going to get the engine up to temp, take it for another spin, then already drove it for a long drive, like 80 miles or so, I believe. So yeah, I've just done the oil change and the flush. I've checked all the data and get the car up to temp, do the injector relearn, and the car will be good to go back to the owner. As you can see, the numbers here are all zero. I just did reset the pilot learning values, so I'm going to get the pilot learning to do again, and after that the car should be, as I said, ready to go back to the owner finally. Yeah, so I'll still be back with a very short clip after I got the engine up to operating temperatures. So here I am after the test drive. You can see the engine oil temperature is 85, oil pressure is 160 averaging, before it was 120, 130, and if I step on the throttle, now I'm about 2000, and the oil solenoid is already turned off. It lets all the pressure go through to the whole engine, as you can see. So yeah, this one turned out to be great. So this was it for this video. Like, if I'm being brutally honest, I personally didn't think that it will turn out this good because of the cutout strainer, and like, we don't know for how long it's been there or been like that. We don't know what like engine damage may have, like what damage the engine may have suffered, but it looks like it didn't at all. So that turned out very lucky for the owner. So the only thing is left to do for him to collect the car and he can enjoy it further. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and see you soon in the very next video. Take care and bye bye.